Assalamualaikum and hi. In this video, we're going to learn about how to use the Java scanner class to ask or accept user input. In general, there are three main methods in Java which we can use to accept user input. The first one is, of course, using the scanner class. The second one is using the buffer reader with input string reader, which we are going to learn later on when we deal with file operation. And finally will be the command line arguments. In order for us to use the Java scanner class to ask for user input, we'll need to have these three basic line of code. The first one is we need to first import the scanner class from the java.util, here stand for utility, Java utility package. So we do import java.util.scanner. Next, we will need to create a scanner object. So here we do scanner my object. So this my object here is an identifier. It's just like how you name a variable. So you can give any names to your scanner object. And then equal new, another keyword here, scanner system.in. So system.in here, of course, indicates system input. We skip the third line here. Let's look into the last line where we do double radius equal to my object dot next double. So here we use a specific method under the scanner class to ask or to accept the user input, which is with the data type double. That's why we use next double. And then we assign the input from the user to this variable here. So you should know this is a conventions on how you declare variables. So for example, here I declare variable radius with the data type double. The only difference is now you assign the value from the user input to the variable. And you can see here in the third line here, we print a specific instructions for the user. Of course, there's something that common if we want to ask for user input, because without these instructions, then user might be confused what is required from your system. So here we specifically say system.out.println, please enter the radius, so that user know that, okay, in this case, I will need to enter the radius so that the system can read it. Now, in the final line just now, you see double radius equal to my object dot next double. So we know that we use the method next double to read the user input with the data type double. And of course, next double is not the only method available under Java scanners. We have here next double, next float, next int, integer, next boolean, and many, many more. So if you look into the name of these scanner methods, then you should know, or you can guess kind of like what are the data types that suitable for this method. For example, next float will be reading user input with data type float. Next int will be to read the user input with data type integer. And next boolean will be to read the user input with data type boolean, which is either true or false. Now, do we have a method which we call as, for example, next string to read string? The answer is no. We do not have a method next string, but we do have two specific methods here to deal with the string under the scanner class. So the first one is next, and the second one is next line. So what are the differences between these two methods? So for example, now, if my user input is hello world, if I'm going to use this next method, the output will only be hello, because I will only read the first word from the user input. But if I'm going to use the next line, okay, if I'm going to use the next line here, it will read the whole line of the user input. So it will print hello world. So it really depends on the use case that you have. So for example, if you expect that the user input is just a keyword, so you can use the next method. But for example, if you expect the user to input their full name, in that case, you would need to use next line. There's a final concept that you need to know or you need to understand when you're using the scanner class. Now, you can actually reuse the same object with different methods. So for example, in your Java programs, you want to ask for the username and also his or her age. So in this case, you can print an instructions here. Please enter your name. And then you use the object that you have created earlier, and then use the specific method. In this case will be next line. Remember, we want to read the string from the user. So I use next line here, and then assign the value input by the user to a variable name with the data type string. Now, I move on to ask for the age from the user. So I print an instructions here, system.out.println enter age, okay? If you notice, I reuse the same object here, my object, okay? But in this case, I'm using a different method because I want to read the age from the user. So I know that age will be with the data type integer. So in this case, I use my object dot next integer, next int, okay? And then I will assign the value from the user input to a variable age with the data type integer. So you can reuse the object as many times as you like. I hope from this short video, you have a better understanding about how to use scanner class to ask and accept user input. Thank you very much.